Her Envoy ship was damaged. His engineer heart needed healing. Amber warning lights pulsed through the orbital outpost's command center, jolting Ben Carter from his focused repairs. Red gold flares chased each other along the overhead conduits, bathing the consoles and his grease-stained hands in alarm. The station's AI, Sarah, cut through the noise with clinical clarity, her voice edged with synthesized urgency. Unscheduled docking request. Vessel identification. Veyron. Catastrophic drive failure detected. Survival probability 35%. Ben's heart lurched, but his hands moved on instinct. His fingers swept across the glowing interface, drawing up the telemetry Sarah relayed. Data cascaded in columns of shifting light, radiation spikes, unstable power flows, oxygen reserves plummeting. He keyed into the incoming ship's comms, overriding the station's safety protocols. "Patch me through, Sarah." The comm screen shuddered before stabilizing. Envoy Tira Vera appeared, her burnished orange skin marked with bold black stripes that slashed from her high cheekbones to the base of her jaw. Her hair, braided in intricate patterns of orange and black, framed a face taut with tension. Ears, striped and pointed, flicked back in agitation, while her golden, slitted eyes locked onto Ben's with fierce composure. "Outpost Control, this is Envoy Vera of the diplomatic courier Mesa. I request immediate emergency clearance. My drive is failing. Containment breach is imminent." Ben took in the battered hull behind her, scored and sparking, but unmistakably Veyron. Elegant, advanced, and now battered by violence. He swallowed, masking his own nerves. "Envoy Vera, you're coming in hot. Guidance systems are offline. Sarah, give me manual control." "Manual override confirmed," the AI responded, and Ben's station chair locked into place as he gripped the guidance yoke. "I'm bringing you in," he told Tira, voice steady. "Stay on the vector I give you. No sudden moves." Her composure flickered, but she nodded, pride giving way to trust in the stranger on the other end of the link. Ben's eyes darted from her image to the station's docking schematic. The bay's shields shimmered, ready to repel a breach. Calculations ran like silent code in his head, but in the end, it came down to gut instinct. He traced the battered ship's arc, easing power to the magnetic clamps as he drew her through the station's shields. The hull shrieked in protest, a tortured metallic scream reverberating through the outpost as the Mesa scraped past the inner lock. Ben's breath caught, sweat prickling at his brow, but with one last adjustment, he brought the ship down. The landing gear rattled, then settled with a final groaning sigh. Ben didn't wait. He grabbed his battered toolkit from the wall, boots pounding the deck as he raced for the docking bay. The airlock cycled with a heavy hiss. The hatch rolled aside, revealing Tira in the flesh. She filled the entryway, tall, broad-shouldered, her diplomatic attire tailored to her powerful feline frame. The elegant sweep of her tail counterbalanced the tension in her stance. "Thank you, Outpost Control," she said, her voice precise, formal. "You have my gratitude." "Save it for when your ship's not about to blow," Ben replied, already ducking under her arm and heading for the drive core. He caught the faintest glint of a smile from her as she followed. Inside the engine compartment, acrid smoke coiled from the phase array. Ben's practiced eyes swept over the power conduits, fingers tracing the shuddering hum of disrupted energy fields. He ran a portable scanner along the core, reading the telltale flux patterns. "It's phase disruption," he announced, frowning. "Not a breakdown. Sabotage." Tira's ears flattened, tail lashing in alarm. "Sabotage? That's not possible. My crew—" Ben cut her off, holding out the scanner. "See this residue? That's not from your systems. That's an alien compound, deliberately introduced. I've seen it before." She bristled, stripes darkening with emotion. "You accuse my staff, my allies?" He met her gaze, unflinching. "I'm not accusing. I'm telling you what happened. Whoever did this wanted you dead, and they knew exactly how to cripple a Veyron drive." Something in his tone made her pause. "You've dealt with this before?" Ben hesitated, the taste of old grief rising. "My partner, Lena, was on a diplomatic run. Similar drive failure. Sabotage. I couldn't save her." Tira's defiance softened, her golden eyes shadowed by memory. "My beloved Kael was killed in a political attack 2 years ago. I always suspected there was more, something engineered, hidden behind layers of diplomacy." Silence stretched between them, thick with loss and the raw edge of empathy. Ben forced himself back to the scan. "The core's riddled with faults. Whoever did this didn't want you making it anywhere alive." She drew herself up, frustration warring with pragmatism. "How long to repair?" He exhaled. "A week, minimum. And that's if I can fabricate half your parts from station stock." Tira's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Then we have no choice. My mission will wait." Their partnership was uneasy but inevitable. The investigation began. Two strangers bound by sabotage and haunted by personal tragedy. Every scan, every theory exchanged brought them closer, not just in purpose, but in something quieter and more vulnerable. The first flicker of trust, a mutual respect born of shared loss, began to take root as they faced the unknown, together. 3 days into repairs, a rhythm formed, a delicate thread woven through necessity, curiosity, and something neither Ben nor Tira dared name aloud. Each morning, as the station's artificial sun cast a pale wash through the outpost's narrow corridors, Tira arrived at the engineering bay, balancing two mugs. One was Ben's favorite battered thermosteel cup, filled with black tea spiced just so, the way he'd once described on a rare, distracted morning. The other was a delicate vessel of her own, filled with viscous amber nectar whose scent hovered between citrus and flame. She handed Ben his tea without preamble, her lips quirking as he inhaled gratefully. "You remember the ratios," he said, half teasing, half surprised. Tira's striped ears twitched with subtle pleasure. "A diplomat observes and adapts." She sipped her nectar, golden eyes never leaving him. Their mornings soon became ritual. They hunched over the Veyron drive core, its crystalline matrix fractured in too many places. Ben's hands, deft and scarred, manipulated human nano-fabrication tools, microscopic printers and adaptive welders, while Tira, with near-reverent care, aligned the shattered Veyron crystals. At first, she watched, skeptical, as Ben layered nanocarbon scaffolds through the lattice. But when the core began to hum, ever so faintly, with a living energy she thought lost, she leaned closer, fascination overcoming formality. "How do you—" "The harmonics should be incompatible," she marveled, brushing a lock of orange-black braid behind her ear. Ben grinned, the light catching on the stubble of his jaw. "That's what the manuals say. But if you resonate the support mesh at a subharmonic, the energy can bridge both systems." Human stubbornness and Veyron elegance side by side. Tira's laughter was low and surprising, full of warmth. "No one in the coalition would dare this." He shrugged. "Maybe they should." She studied him, a new glimmer in her gaze, admiration mingling with something softer. Each day the barriers between them thinned, but on the fourth morning, the easy rhythm shattered. Ben was elbow-deep in the drive's diagnostics when a thin, black filament slithered free from the core's housing, dislodged by his probing. He froze. Tira's eyes narrowed as she moved beside him, scanning the residue with her personal analyzer. A stuttering violet pulse flickered on her wrist display. "Ben, look at this pattern," she said, voice suddenly tight. "This isn't Veyron or human." Ben took the analyzer, his face paling as the signatures resolved. "Xenthian phase dampers," he breathed. "That's impossible." Tira's jaw set, stripes darkening with rage. "The Xenthian block. They've opposed my mission since the treaty's first word. I knew they'd use threats, but this?" Her claws flexed unconsciously. Ben's stomach twisted. "This is their signature. I've seen it before. On Lena's ship." The same pattern, the same sabotage. A heavy silence settled. The revelation wasn't just personal, it was a widening chasm beneath their feet. The attack on Tira was no isolated political strike. It was part of a pattern, a hidden campaign targeting both Varen and human envoys. Tira exhaled sharply, her tail lashing once, then curling close. All these years, the council told me Kael's death was tragic misfortune. A malfunction, not malice. But I found holes in the reports, data missing, witnesses who vanished. No one believed me. Ben's gaze softened, his voice low. I do. I know what it's like to chase shadows. I spent years combing through wreckage, hunting for answers everyone else wanted to bury. It nearly broke me. Tira stepped away from the smoking core, moving to the viewport that overlooked the sweep of the stars and the battered silhouette of her ship. She stared into the void, striped ears slanting back in grief and anger. Ben followed, standing just behind her shoulder. "Did you ever find peace?" she asked quietly, her reflection wavering in the glass beside his. "Does the ache ever fade?" He considered, the memory of Lena's smile, quick and mischievous, flickering through him like a ghost. Not fade, it changes. You learn to live with it. Sometimes it even drives you forward, but it's always there. Tira nodded, her gaze unwavering. My people say that pain and love are the same force, expressed with different faces. When we lose someone, we mourn as fiercely as we once loved. Ben looked at her, really looked, seeing not the diplomat or the survivor, but a woman standing on the same precipice he'd known. I think humans are just slower to admit it, he said, half smiling. For a long moment they stood together, reflections mingling, her gold eyes and his tired blue, two survivors framed by the cold halo of stars. The distance between them, once dictated by protocol and pain, shrank into something intimate, necessary. Later, in the hush of engineering, Tira lingered while Ben calibrated the new phase array. The air was thick with ozone and the faint scent of her spiced nectar. She watched him work, the tension of the earlier discovery giving way to a quieter curiosity. "Ben," she asked, her voice softer than he'd heard before, "what was Lena like?" He paused, hands stilling over the interface. For a heartbeat, he considered deflecting, changing the subject, retreating behind technical jargon. But the earnestness in Tira's eyes coaxed him out. She was bright, not just in mind, but in spirit. Always the first to see the joke, the first to forgive. She was the one who taught me to break rules for the right reasons, how to risk connection, even when it hurts. Tira's ears tipped forward, drinking in every word. How did you meet? A smile tugged at Ben's lips, tinged with memory. She crashed a skimmer into my hangar, claimed it was field testing. She always had a story, always a reason to bend the universe's rules. She made everything seem possible. Tira's tail curled loosely around her ankles, a Varen gesture of comfort and solidarity. You loved her fiercely. He nodded, voice rough. I still do, in a way. But lately, I've realized I can miss her and still move forward. Tira stepped closer, her presence a quiet anchor. That is how it is for us as well. When Kael was taken, I thought the world ended, but I kept searching, asking questions, refusing to let his memory be rewritten. It's lonely, holding on to truth alone. You're not alone now, Ben said, the words gentle but firm. She searched his face, hope flickering there. No, I'm not. For the first time since her arrival, Tira allowed herself to relax, letting the layers of formality fall away. Ben's technical alliance was no longer just professional. It had become a lifeline, a shared resistance against the shadows that had haunted them both for so long. In the hum of the outpost's engineering bay, between the pulse of Varen crystals and the rhythm of human hands, something quietly powerful began to grow. Ben finished calibrating the phase array, then looked at Tira, a new warmth in his gaze. She met it with her own, her stripes softening in the gentle glow of the interface. Their technical partnership, forged in crisis, had deepened into genuine emotional intimacy, an unspoken promise that, together, they might just rewrite the stories that loss had once dictated. As Ben recalibrated the drive, his attention fixed on the trembling lattice of Varen crystals and pulsing nanofilaments, Sarah's voice crackled through the engineering bay, edged with static and urgency. Ben, priority transmission from Earth Fleet Command. Incoming on secure channel. He jerked upright, wiping a smear of grease from his wrist as the console display flickered. Commander Mira Holloway's sharp features materialized, eyes like cold steel beneath the insignia of Earth Fleet. Carter, this is Holloway. Cease all repairs on the Varen vessel immediately. The ship is under investigation for trafficking forbidden technology. Security teams are en route to your location. Do not intervene. The line cut off as abruptly as it had appeared, leaving behind a stinging echo. Ben felt the floor shift beneath him, the coded threat thrumming louder than any alarm. He sprinted from engineering, boots pounding out a warning through the narrow corridors. He found Tira in the core room, hunched over an auxiliary console, her face illuminated by the fractured glow of the drive's diagnostic display. She looked up as he burst in, her stripes standing out stark against her tense features. Tira, we have to move. Earth Fleet is... She held up a trembling data spike, her eyes blazing. Wait. Ben, look. She stabbed a finger at the code scrolling across the screen. I ran a deep trace on the sabotage routines. The signature, this encryption, is not Zenthian. It's human, Earth Covert Ops, the same code you showed me from Lena's records. Ben felt the blood drain from his face. That's impossible. Only top-level Earth Command has access to that code. Tira's jaw clenched, her tail lashing in agitation. KL found evidence of corruption, Earth and Varen officials conspiring to sabotage any alliance. When he tried to bring it to light, they silenced him. She paused, her voice trembling with anger. They killed him, Ben. Just like Lena. Realization struck, cold and absolute. Someone wants this treaty dead. They're willing to kill anyone who stands in the way. A low tremor shuddered through the deck plates. Overhead, the lights flickered, casting jagged shadows across the machinery. Sarah's voice came, distorted and faint. Warning. Multiple unauthorized dockings. Security breach detected. Hostile forces on board. I am being... Her words broke off, replaced by a harsh electronic buzz. Ben and Tira exchanged a glance, unspoken fear and resolve knitting them together. A distant clang reverberated through the corridor. Heavy boots, the unmistakable rhythm of an armed boarding party. Tira stepped forward, her strong hand closing around Ben's. The gesture was wordless, fierce. Ben felt the steadiness of her grip, the trust she placed in him even as chaos spiraled. Stay close, she whispered. We do not let them divide us. The lights guttered and died, plunging the corridor into darkness. Only the faint blue pulse from a failing emergency beacon painted ghostly patterns along the walls. Ben's breath quickened, his fingers tightening around Tira's. In the blackness, they moved as one, guided by memory, by instinct, by the trust forged in fire and loss. Somewhere ahead, the hiss of a security door parting. Holloway's voice, metallic and cold, echoed through the station's comms. This is Commander Holloway. Surrender immediately, or you will be neutralized. Resistance will not be tolerated. Ben pulled Tira down a narrow maintenance shaft, crawling through a lattice of cables and coolant lines. They've locked Sarah out, he whispered. Manual overrides only. They want us blind. Tira's breath was a soft, steady rhythm in the dark. Then we use what they can't control. A metallic crash nearby, agents, loyal to Director Voss, fanning out through the bay, weapons drawn, scanning for heat signatures. Ben glanced at Tira, voice pitched barely above a murmur. We need a diversion. The drive's phase core, if we destabilize it just for a moment, it'll create a gravity pulse, enough to throw them off balance. Tira's gold eyes flashed, fierce with understanding. And in the chaos, we take them down. Ben nodded. It's risky, but it's all we have. Their hands, still entwined, found the hidden maintenance panel behind the core. Ben's fingers danced across the manual relays, bypassing security locks with a precision born of desperation. Tira crouched at his side, ready to strike. He looked at her, voice rough. You trust me? She squeezed his hand. With my life. Ben flipped the final switch. A low whine built within the drive, resonating through the bulkheads. Gravity twisted. Up became sideways, down became a lurching wave. Shouts rang out as Voss's agents stumbled, weapons skittering from their grasp. The air shimmered with the energy of the unstable core. Tira moved, a blur of orange and black. She flowed through the chaos, her movements feline and precise, disarming 2 guards before they could recover. A third aimed a stunner at Ben. Tira's tail whipped out, knocking the weapon aside. Ben lunged, grappling the attacker to the deck and wrenching the rifle free. Amid the disarray, Holloway emerged, her sidearm drawn, fury etched in every line of her face. Carter! Stand down! Ben faced her, chest heaving. You're on the wrong side, Mira. This isn't justice, it's murder. She fired. The stun bolt grazed Ben's shoulder, numbing his arm. He forced himself forward, driving his good hand into the commander's jaw. Holloway crumpled, unconscious, as the pulse from the drive core shuddered and collapsed, restoring gravity with a hard jolt. Tira pinned the last agent against the bulkhead, her claws inches from his throat. Yield or I end you, she growled. The agent, eyes wide, dropped his weapon. Sarah's voice, newly unshackled, rang out. Ben, Tira, multiple hostile vessels approaching. You have limited time before docking is breached again. Ben staggered to Tira's side, wiping blood from his temple. They're not going to stop. This goes all the way to Voss. If we want to end this, we have to prove what happened, to both worlds. Tira caught her breath, golden eyes blazing. Kale believed the truth would survive, if only someone was brave enough to carry it. I will not let his sacrifice be erased. Ben nodded, determination burning through his exhaustion. Lena hid a data cache, a backup of everything we found. Sarah, can you locate it? The AI answered, voice steady but urgent. I tracked Lena's last encrypted transmission. The cache is hidden in the Oort icefield, aboard a derelict skiff. Coordinates uploaded to your console. Tira's face lit with fierce hope. That's our chance. If we reach the cache, we can expose Voss and Holloway to the Council, force the truth into the light. Ben squeezed her hand, the gesture no longer desperate, but united. We do this together. For them, for all of us. She touched his cheek, a silent promise passing between them. Together. Alarms howled, echoing through the station as hostile ships drew closer. Ben and Tira, battered but unbroken, raced for the docking bay, hearts synchronized by hope and purpose. The path ahead was perilous, but with the truth, and each other, they prepared to run, ready to risk everything to rewrite the fate of their worlds. Aboard Tira's repaired ship, the hum of the drive core sang beneath Ben's boots, a fragile, dangerous harmony that had become as familiar to him as his own heartbeat. He hunched over the nav console, fingers flying across the interface as lines of code scrolled and shimmered, rewriting the ship's drive signature one command at a time. Ghost profile ready, he muttered, glancing up at Tira. Fleet sensors will see us as a derelict cargo hauler, if they're not looking too close. Tira's tail flicked in approval as she slid into the pilot's seat, her posture fluid, every muscle ready. Her hands danced across the controls, coaxing the battered Mesa into a slingshot arc around a drifting shard of ancient ice. The blue-white glare of the field scattered across her features, lending her an ethereal glow. Ben, Hold on, she said, voice low and confident. We'll lose them in the Oort debris. The ship surged forward, weaving through the glittering chaos. Chunks of frozen ammonia and silicate tumbled past the hull, each one capable of ending them with a single mistake. But Tira piloted with the poise of a dancer, guiding the ship on impossible vectors, trusting Ben's recalibrations as if they were extensions of her own will. Ben watched her, admiration sharpening into something deeper. The bridge was filled with the soft interplay of alarms, the thrum of power, and the gentle counterpoint of their voices. Technical talk flowed seamlessly into the personal. Lena was never afraid, Ben said, voice barely louder than the hum of the core. Not even when the odds were impossible. She'd have loved this, breaking the rules, risking everything for the right cause. Tira nodded, not taking her eyes from the swirling ice. You carry her memory well. She lives in your courage and your stubbornness. He smiled, a ghost of pain and pride in his eyes. It used to be a weight. Now maybe it's more like a compass. Tira's gaze flicked to him, warm and searching. You have changed, Ben, since we met. The anger is still there, but you are lighter. He studied her profile, the way her stripes caught the reflected starlight, and realized she was right. For the first time in years, he felt something unfurl within him. Hope, perhaps, or the beginnings of trust. You helped with that, he admitted. You make it easier, and not just because you're a damn good pilot. Her smile was slow, curling at the edges. I am honored, Carter. Their teamwork was a living thing. As the sensor pings grew sharper, enemy signals converging on their position, Ben and Tira fell into a seamless rhythm. She flew, he navigated, each trusting the other implicitly. Data streams overlapped with whispered confidences, tactical decisions interspersed with shared memories. And in the close confines of the cockpit, every brush of hands at the console felt electric. Then, as they rounded a tumbling glacier, the cache appeared on the scanners. A tiny blip, hidden in the shadow of a comet, its signal pulsing in code only Ben could read. He pointed. There, that's Lena's cache. But even before they could close in, the comm crackled, and the view screen filled with the cold, smiling visage of Director Voss. Behind him, hybrid warships, Earth Varentech, twisted together in secret, blocked their approach, weapons powered and eager. Ah, Carter, Envoy Vera, so predictable, Voss purred, his voice a venomous caress. You really thought you'd make it this far? Did you enjoy your little alliance? Lena certainly didn't. Her screams were memorable. Ben's grip on the console turned white-knuckled, his anger sharpening to an icy edge. You're a coward, Voss, hiding behind shadows, murdering anyone who dares unite our worlds. Voss's lips curled in mock sympathy. And you, Tira, always the noble failure. Do you truly believe you can change the course of history? You are nothing but a footnote. Stand down, and I may even spare Carter's life. Tira's tail curled protectively around Ben's arm, her stance fierce. She spoke, voice steel-wrapped velvet. Your threats are empty, Voss. We are not so easily erased. Ben's eyes never left the tactical readout. Do you trust me, Tira? Her answer was immediate. With everything I am. He outlined his plan in a low, urgent voice. Invert the ship's gravity field at the moment the enemy fired, rebounding their own weapons back on them. It was a maneuver that bordered on suicidal, but with Tira's flying and Ben's calculations, it just might work. Tira's hand found Ben's as he reconfigured the core, their fingers brushing. Electricity arced, not from the ship, but from something between them. Neither flinched. Now, Ben, she whispered. He triggered the inversion. The ship trembled, every system screaming in protest. Outside, the hybrid ships unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts and gravitic pulses. But as the fields twisted, their fire spun back, shredding their own formations. Explosions blossomed in the ice, the enemy fleet thrown into chaos. Tira piloted them through the debris with breathtaking skill, dodging spinning wreckage and errant fire, her focus absolute. Ben watched her, awe and affection mingling in his chest. "We're clear," she announced, voice breathless. "The cache is within reach." Ben initiated the data transfer, fingers flying over Lena's encryption, her legacy unfolding in code and memory. As the drive spun up, Tira secured their position, ready for another wave. Their eyes met, the bridge suddenly too small for the emotion between them. Ben searched Tira's face for the words he hadn't dared speak. She opened her mouth, about to say something. Her tail brushed his arm, anchoring them both in the moment. "Ben," she began, voice trembling with vulnerability. But the calm blared, cutting through the moment. On the screen, a Veyron cruiser loomed, its hull markings unmistakable. The official seal of the House of Veyra shone on the prow. Tira's expression shifted from hope to dread. A familiar face appeared. Rin Veyra, Tira's cousin, her bearing regal, eyes hard with authority. Envoy Tira Veyra. By order of the Coalition, you are commanded to surrender your ship and its human passengers. Power down and prepare for boarding, or be fired upon. This is not a request. Tira's hand hovered over the controls, torn between duty and desire. The tension in the cockpit was a wire stretched to breaking. Ben met her gaze, silent reassurance in his eyes. In that suspended heartbeat, the future spun, threat, hope, and longing colliding as the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. Rin's voice rang across the comm, hard and unyielding. "Tira, stand down. You're to return immediately and cease this entanglement with the human. You are an envoy. Protocol demands it." His eyes, amber and cold, flicked to Ben with undisguised disdain. "Your actions disgrace your house." Tira's hand, warm and strong, tightened around Ben's. She straightened, letting the command center's light catch every defiant line of her striped face. "No, Rin, not this time." Her voice was calm, but beneath the calm was iron. "You demand obedience when our people are being used as pawns. Kael is dead. Lena is dead, because someone wanted us divided. Voss and his conspirators orchestrated everything. The sabotage, the murders, all of it. Are you truly so blind, cousin?" Rin recoiled, his tail snapping in agitation. "You have no evidence. You risk war over sentiment and rumor." Ben's voice, low and steady, cut through. "We have more than rumor. I'm finishing the transfer now. Encrypted logs, communications, command protocols. Lena died to collect this. Kael died trying to expose it." His hands moved over the console, the data cache's upload bar glowing steadily. Tira fixed Rin with a level gaze, her golden eyes unflinching. "Question the story, Rin. Ask why the records of Kael's investigation were sealed, why Lena's logs were wiped. Ask yourself who benefits from our fear and hatred. If you are the leader I once believed you to be, help us break this cycle." On the main view screen, Rin's face shifted, doubt and pain flickering through his practiced mask. His ship's weapons powered down, shields dipping in a gesture of vulnerability. He hesitated, voice quieter. "If you have proof, send it now. I need to see." Ben didn't wait. With a keystroke, he sent a compressed packet of files, logs of covert meetings, sabotage codes matching Earth's black ops, the last recordings of Lena and Kael. The transmission hung in the air, a silent gauntlet. Rin's eyes widened as the evidence scrolled across his display. His hand shook. "By the stars. How deep does this go?" "All the way to the council," Ben said, watching the confusion and horror dawn on Rin's face. Rin swallowed, his pride cracking under the weight of revelation. "You have my support, Tira, but the council will demand the full chain of evidence. Bring it to them, together. We will force them to see." Before relief could set in, alarms shrilled across the console. Sarah's voice cut in, urgent. New contacts. Earth intelligence ships inbound, heavy signatures. They're not Voss's fleet. Ben scanned the data. A formation of vessels, their codes matching genuine Earth fleet records, dropped from FTL, sleek and bristling with comm arrays. The lead ship's comm channel opened, displaying the calm, steady face of Captain Morgan Lee, broad-shouldered, dark eyes sharp with purpose. This is Captain Lee, Earth Intelligence. We've tracked Director Voss's operation across both territories. Our own agents have corroborating data. Stand by for secure transmission. Tira glanced at Ben, uncertainty flickering. How can we be sure? After everything. Ben checked the signal, triple encrypted, biometric signatures authentic, Lena's own protocols embedded deep in the handshake. The memory of Lena's voice echoed in his mind. Truth needs witnesses, Ben. Don't run alone. He nodded, turning to Tira. We can trust them. Lee's record is clean. Lena left this for just such a moment. Tira released a breath she hadn't known she was holding, her eyes shining with gratitude and something deeper. Then let us finish this. The upload reached its final stages. On every screen, damning evidence streamed out. Voss's orders, falsified council records, the full list of every agent who had played a part in Kael's and Lena's deaths. Lee's ships synchronized, amplifying the broadcast, firing the truth into every relay across the system. Around them, the bridge seemed to shrink, the world narrowing to the steady pulse of Ben's heartbeat and the warmth of Tira's hand in his. The comm screens were alive with the faces of their enemies and allies, but Ben saw only Tira. He reached out, his fingers trembling just slightly as he brushed her cheek, tracing the elegant pattern of stripes. I won't let you go, Tira, not after everything we fought for. She leaned into his touch, her own hand covering his. Nor I you, Ben. Not even the council will keep us apart. The bridge was alive with the mutter of crews, the distant thunder of starship engines, the static hiss of a world on the edge of change. But in the heart of the storm, Ben and Tira stood close, unafraid, refusing to hide. As the last of Lena's cash streamed into history, Tira rose to her full height, her tail curling around Ben's waist, a gesture both protective and claiming. Their eyes locked, every barrier gone, and Tira pressed her forehead gently to his. The moment stretched, charged with all the pain, hope, and fierce love that had brought them here. Ben tipped her chin up and kissed her, public, defiant, and full of hope. The crews watched, stunned, but neither cared. As the evidence spread, as the old lies crumbled, their embrace became a promise of truth, of unity, of a future rewritten together. In the Joint Command Center, the air pulsed with tension and possibility. Earth and Varen banners hung side by side, their unfamiliar union reflected in the faces gathered around the grand table. Ben Carter stood shoulder to shoulder with Tira Vera, her hand woven tightly with his beneath the table's edge. Hollow screens spiraled with data, evidence, and the ghostly images of those lost to sabotage and conspiracy. At the head, Earth Admiral Chowdhury's gaze was hard as diamond, flanked by Varen High Justice Savik and Captain Morgan Lee. Rin Vera, once Tira's rival, now her steadfast ally, stood tall and proud at her other side. Ben's voice rang through the chamber, clear and unwavering. We present to this tribunal proof, years of sabotage, orchestrated by Director Voss and his network, with Zenthian technology as their weapon. Lena Carter and Kael Vera died uncovering these truths. Now, no more secrets. Tira activated the data cache. Scenes flickered in the air, encrypted transmissions, voice logs, shadowy figures hatching plans. The faces of the betrayers glared out from the projections, forever stripped of secrecy. A hush fell as the implications settled in. Rin's stripes darkened with righteous fury. You see the depth of the treachery. Our losses were engineered. I demand justice for both our peoples. Admiral Chowdhury nodded solemnly. There will be justice. No one, Earth or Veyron, stands above the law. The tribunal, once divided by suspicion, found itself united by outrage and resolve. Questions flew from the assembled leaders, but one, sharp and unexpected, hung in the air. High Justice Savick fixed her gaze on Ben and Tira. "And what of your relationship? You stand here not merely as partners in truth, but as something more. Are you prepared to set aside personal attachment for the sake of protocol?" Tira stood, mask gone, voice resonant. "The old rules are dead. They were made to keep us apart. Earth from Vera, one heart from another. Our bond is proof that trust and love can achieve what fear never could." Rin stepped forward, pride and vulnerability mingling in his stance. "I support my cousin. If we are to build something lasting, it must be founded on truth, on the courage to trust and to love across boundaries." Captain Lee's smile was wry, her eyes twinkling. "Frankly, their partnerships already revolutionized quantum engineering. If protocol can't keep up, perhaps protocol is what needs changing." Ben squeezed Tira's hand beneath the table, feeling her pulse steady and strong. The tribunal murmured, the weight of tradition yielding, slowly, but unmistakably, to the hope and clarity shining between the two of them. Admiral Chowdhury rose. "Negotiations between Earth and Vera will resume at once. New cooperative frameworks will be drafted, with your help." She looked directly at Ben and Tira. "Not as rivals, but as partners. We need you both." Tira's golden eyes glowed. "We volunteer," she said, voice trembling with joy, "to help forge these new protocols, not as separate representatives, but as living proof of what unity can create." Ben grinned, unable to resist pulling her close. The entire chamber watched as Tira melted into his embrace, hope and defiance radiating from them both. 3 months later, the new joint research hub shimmered at the edge of the Oort field, its crystalline towers and sleek metal gleaming under twin banners. Ben and Tira worked side by side at the heart of the operations center, their days now a seamless blend of challenge and discovery. The drive core they had designed together pulsed at the center of the lab, a living engine of harmony, human ingenuity, and Veyron elegance fused in every glowing lattice. Tira's new uniform, a blend of Earth's pragmatic lines and Veyron's ceremonial motifs, marked her as the first integrated operations envoy. The Council's seal and Earth's star emblazoned her shoulder. A quantum pendant, Lena's last gift, hung at her throat. A memory, a promise, and a beacon. Ben adjusted the core's calibration, glancing over at Tira, who was entering final diagnostic readings. She caught his look and smiled, setting her tablet aside. The hum of the lab faded into the background as they shared a rare moment of quiet. He nudged her gently. 3 months ago, we were fugitives. Now we're public property." She rolled her eyes, tail swishing with playful pride. "We are pioneers, Ben." "That is much more difficult." He grinned. "I'll take pioneers over criminals any day." They stood shoulder to shoulder, surveying the work that had cost them so much and given them more than they ever expected. Through the glass, new students gathered in the corridor, some human, some Veyron, and even a handful of Zenthian delegates, their tentacled forms shimmering as they waited. Tira's gaze softened as she watched the students. "The Council did more than accept our evidence. They recognized our bond. It is official, Ben, the first of its kind." She reached up, touching the pendant. Lena would have approved. Ben covered her hand with his, thumb brushing her knuckles. "She's still here, in every leap we make." The lab comm chimed, Captain Lee's voice brisk and encouraging. "Ben, Tira, your new engineering students have arrived. It's time." Ben inhaled, nerves and excitement tangling in his chest. He glanced at Tira. "Ready to teach the next generation how not to blow up a drive core?" She arched a brow, mischief sparking in her eyes. "You are the one who nearly reversed the gravity field." "Only because you rerouted the harmonics. I still say it was sabotage." She squeezed his hand, laughter low and intimate. Perhaps, but together, we created something stronger. My ship was broken. Your heart was too. Now, look what we have built. He met her gaze, his own eyes shining. You're right. We did it together. Hand in hand, they stepped into the corridor, where eager faces waited. Ben felt the future unfurling before him, not easy, but possible, threaded through with trust, curiosity, and love. Tira looked out at the gathered students, her golden eyes luminous. Welcome, she said, her voice carrying the warmth of worlds joined. Today, we begin not as strangers, but as partners. Let us see how far we can go, together. Ben squeezed her hand, drawing courage from her strength, and together they led the way, into the classroom, into the future, into a new era. Their story, born of pain, tested by betrayal, redeemed by love, was no longer just their own. It was the first chapter of something greater, proving that unity could bridge even the widest gulf between worlds. Our story ends here. If you'd like to support us, you can use the Super Thanks button right under the video to leave a tip. It truly helps our team improve the quality of our work. We're grateful to each and every subscriber for being with us. Make sure you subscribe, press the like button, and tell us in the comments what stood out to you the most in this video. Your feedback means a lot to our team. You'll discover many more captivating stories on our channel. See you in the next one.